Hello my friends and welcome to monthlies. This is going from July 23rd to August 22nd. And just quick note, thank you everybody for helping, sharing, subscribing, liking. I appreciate a lot. 10,000 is a really cool thing to be at just in less than 5 months. So quick announcement, we only have one special this month, which is your expert. So if you want it, check it on my website. Love you. Hi Tauruses, and welcome to your August monthly. So this time around I decided to do things differently because I usually do the advice cards at the very end. So now I have decided to do it in the very beginning, and the reason for that is like that you can really see how that actually relates and reflects in your basically reading. So it is also very interesting to see right before my eyes what most likely I can expect from the rest of the reading. And you guys have some really interesting things over here. So where do I start? Well, let me start here. Check this card out. You have an eagle and you have a swan. There is a diamond and there is like yin yang, right? So the card is called integration. So this is kind of like that really fusion of opposites if you really think about it, right? And this is basically telling us that we have to, you guys have to work toward creating this like unified whole and turning endlessly from basically one state to another, because each of them is containing basically the seed of the opposite, just like in the very yin yang symbol, right? So you can see also how the snake that is biting the tail. So the eagle and the swan are both beings of flight and basically majestic, right? The eagle is the embodiment of power and also aloneness. The swan is the embodiment of space and purity. And it's really something that kind of evokes our emotions just by looking at it, not fear, like sometimes we get when we see the eagle staring at us. So we are basically the union of eagle and swan, male and female, just like fire and water, right? Life and death. This is the card of integration, which is basically the symbol of self-creation, new life, and this is actually a symbol of alchemy. So I would really say here that, you know, you have a bridge, and if that bridge was broken by some accident, whether it was some kind of some psychological defect or something else, when the person becomes split, right, then the person becomes two people, and that's when you get this schizophrenia or basically split personality. So if that bridge is broken, or that bridge is kind of like very fragile, right, then you behave like two people. So in the morning, for example, you're very loving and like very beautiful. In the evening, you're like angry and very different. You just actually cannot even recognize yourself. So you have to ask yourself, do you really remember your morning? And how can you remember? So another mind is like basically functioning here when people become two people. So in this bridge that you have, and when this bridge is strengthened so much that these two minds actually disappear as two and become one, that is when integration really occurs, and also then crystallization. So crystallization, pardon me, is a concept of being nothing but that these two minds becoming really one, and when you get this like crystal clear vision, right? Which movie was that? Do you understand? And he said like crystal. That's basically that vision. There are like no duality anymore, and you are going to get guidance on that path. And you see over here, like very much like here, you actually do have this angel, right? And it is basically asking for you to soar, right? So I don't know, this is also kind of like very rainbow colored because it's a rainbow suit over here. So I would say here the truth is basically to trust yourself, and you have to figure out where to go right now. It is like sort of inception point, right? And you're being basically given that. It might be kind of like coming to you through a whisper. It might be kind of bluntly coming to you from somebody else. Kind of, you should do that. You know, that kind of like statements we all kind of like resent. But if you really scratch your head, and if you're not these two people anymore, maybe it's going to hit the spot. Wait a minute. This is who I truly can become. So this is pretty much almost like a beam of light. Look at that motion that is happening here, right? So when the room is dark, you have to just bring the light in. So even with a small candle you can do, and even when you walk into a room with a small candle, the entire room lightens up, the darkness disappears. So once when you have that candle, you also know where the door is, and you really don't have to think about where's the door. So this is what's going to happen to you guys. You're going to have this kind of crack open, and it's going to start to happen. You're going to see where you're supposed to go. Now you have this morality, which is kind of like one of the more complex cards, which basically is a Queen of Swords in the other decks. But check this one out. So morality basically restricts like our energy of life, and we are confining this to whatever mind can conceive. So if that cannot flow there, like basically the reality becomes a dried up prune, right? And over here, like we see something stiff, something that rigidly reacts to every situation as a black and white. Look at this self-imposed basically prisons, right? So we do see actually a person. We do see this duality here blocked in. We do see those clouds in the background, right? Because truth is, we all have it, right? We all have our vision of what morality is. We all have some rigid ideas. What is that we have to do, what is sinful, what is a virtue, and what we can accept and what we cannot accept. So this is what is basically asking you to integrate the opposites and maybe question. It is only when you kind of like break through this basically cage that you break the conditioning, and really it is the time when you get the truth, right? Because this is calling for you to be aware, right? So morality is the opposite of awareness, because awareness cannot do anything that is bad. Morality is a set of rules. So rather than basically cutting the the leaves and branches, cut the root. And cut the root where there is no other method than just a very simple, stupid method. The method of being alert and being aware and being conscious. Frankly, guys, I don't know how you're going to do it. This is pretty much a biggie, asking you to become not just better person, but a person that can help everybody. This is a big lesson, and literally you're not giving a choice. You're asked nicely by karma. Guys, recognize this. This is what's going to happen. Something is true, something is not true. Recognize that you're kind of boxed in. Get out. If you choose not to, you guys are going to have thunderbolt. Look at this. Can you see the shadow behind? And these are basically shedding the beliefs. So this card shows a tower being burned, destroyed, right? So there's a man and a woman here. They're leaping from the tower because they really have no choice. This is what happens when you see the tower. There is absolutely no choice. So I like that background where you have like this really calm figure that actually meditates. So this basically card says that you maybe kind of like are feeling kind of shaky because the earth is rocking under your feet, and you being an earth sign, this is really awful. So when your sense of security is being challenged, you being Tauruses, really the natural tendency is like to hold whatever you can hold on, which includes your moral principles, which includes your like physical possessions. But this is talking about the like earthquake that happens inside of us that is really necessary, and it's also important. So from the wreckage that happens after this, you're going to basically emerge much stronger and available for new experiences. And once when you shed the sense of morality that has been maybe imposed or self-created, all of a sudden you're opening the door to a new world. You're opening the door to that awareness. So this card is asking you to basically try to see this destruction with detachment, almost as if this is really happening to someone else, and say yes to the process, because that way you are able to merge into this calmness, into kind of like this rebuilding, because this is something that you are really being called upon. When I see this card coming, then I always know the big changes are coming for you guys, and it might be kind of like really uncomfortable. Then you have like these two really interesting cards that came with it, right? The lake in itself is talking about this ability to be still. Check this out. But is really lake ever still? What basically does happen over here? So we kind of like see this mass over here of water, and water is always talking about kind of, I don't know, when I see this card, it always reminds me on that scene in The Notebook. I don't know if you guys seen the movie. If you haven't, it's kind of very romantic. Sure, of course, it's like any other Nicholas Sparks kind of think it's over the top. But there is the scene early in the morning when there is a complete stillness, where there are so many swans. So how appropriate that would be, because you guys have this, and it's beyond majestic. It is like basically what really love can be described. Probably one of the best scenes ever made in the movies. So this is obviously the same kind of morning when lake itself is like not fully awakened, right? It's kind of like it's welcoming the coming day. So this is where you're still, this is where you are like still not poisoned with morality and everything that you have to do during the day. So this is asking you for that internal stillness, because the tempo of life these days is like really speeding up considerably, right? And seems like there is no end. I mean, I know it for myself. It's like working from the very first thing in the morning to very last at night. But this is asking you to escape, because this card is basically saying, wait a minute, you have become a prisoner, and you're a prisoner of that kind of, come on, hurry up kind of syndrome. And there is no need to actually feel trapped by it. It's simply way out. You have to open this door of being aware. And that means like looking at things by not judging, just looking at things and experiencing, which is a much different thing. So by doing that, by being still, by actually either finding a place somewhere in the nature, going close to a lake, if you have one available, it is at the very least needed for you to kind of get away from man-made noises, right? So the point here is like to find yourself. The point is like that you kind of like quiet down all these voices, the technology and the space of life. And the point is like that you got out of the prison card. So enjoy. This is again talking about the awareness. And now I think it's very appropriate that Taurus got this card, Ancestors, because you guys are very traditional, and as one of the 4 fixed signs, very stubborn. And I think stubbornness is good. I know that many people are kind of like putting this big X over it. It's so bad. But the truth is that you do change your mind when you kind of see that something else is better, and then you integrate. The good news about fixed signs is that, you know, once they set their mind on something, they just go after that. And this is like the basically secret of the success. So this is basically asking for you to change your mind. This entire period is going to be a lift-off period, because interestingly enough, you get this card. So if you really look at the surface, you have a snake, you have hands, of course you have like, strings of DNA. So how the heck do we glue this together, right? The truth is, of course, we are here because like we are the end of a long lineage that starts with parents and grandparents and so on. Who knows, maybe we were just a little amoeba at the very beginning of this whole process. That's what they say. We all are connected, right? But the truth is, like, we are spiritually connected, you know, we are soulfully connected. And this is basically saying that you have to understand that all of these things, the morality and guidance and thunderbolt, everything has been happening over the centuries, and you are who you are because of this long lineage, right? So in many indigenous cultures, it's believed that the essence of ancestors inhabits many of the physical aspects of the land, right? In basically the trees, the water, the animals. So it is really, really good to kind of touch it. So both cards are asking you to kind of ground yourself, and I think this is really important for you guys to really do it. So let's talk a little bit about this snake. In this particular deck, this is referring to the Australian Aboriginals, right? Because they consider their ancestors the core of their spirituality, the core of their culture, and they call this the rainbow serpent, right? Because the spirit that created all life on earth. And this spirit actually, look, intertwines, can you see it, with hand fingers. So this is basically representing how they honor all of the creation. So no matter what our lineage is, we do have much to learn from our ancestors. And it was like just not the culture you were born in. There were like many, many facets of who we had to go, what we had to go through, what our ancestors had to go through for us to get where we are. So it is that swirling motion. So guys, it's going to be interesting how this evolves during the reading. And I have shuffled most of the decks that I'm preparing because we have few layers of this reading. But this deck I didn't finish because I had a jumper. So this is when I stop. So interestingly enough, you have another 3, right? So here we have a guidance that is asking you to listen, go into nature, things will be coming to you. But here we have like 3 of Wands reversed. So this can actually really mean kind of like getting off. There is something that maybe didn't take off, or maybe you'll feel that in your life you're maybe going to a dead end, that maybe you're wasting goals, that you're maybe wasting resources. So it's going to be probably one of those times to kind of revisit it. So let's see, what is this all about? Taurus, Taurus, Taurus. Have more jumpers, guys. There is another thing, like, I mean, there is like a passion that you have lost a passion for something. Like Knave of Wands is generally like running forward, jump, like, I mean, you're there before you say jump, sort of a thing, right? But when it's this way, it's just like, I don't know, I don't feel like doing that. That is like that morning evening contrast that we were talking about, this integration. So this is also asking you to revisit when you go down into the stillness. What is that you're not passionate about? Because that is that awareness. What is that you don't want and why? I mean, I am not taking adolescent excuses or not enough money. That's not excuse. You have to figure out how you're contributing to the other people and to the whole. And then you have 7 of Swords. So you guys are closing something. This is the card of independence. In the upright situation, it's also a card of sneakery. It's also a card of somebody's taking something like right under your nose, or somebody took something. When it's reversed, this card talks about some closure, kind of like not even caring, right? Remember that rice experiment when they boiled the rice and put them in a 3 different kind of like bottles. On one bottle they wrote love, another bottle they wrote hate, and third bottle was like unnamed. So what basically happened after 2 weeks, the one that basically had love on it deteriorated the least. Hardly had any of the green stuff, right? Hate didn't do really well. you could see big difference. And you can Google this. This is kind of Dr. I believe Emoto that did this experiment. He also did this experiment with water. So guess what happened to the third one that hasn't been marked? The one that we just decided not to give any name, not to even be aware about it. That one was a disaster. So it goes to show that ignoring people, ignoring things is way worse than actually hating them. So I think you're just putting an end to something. You actually don't even care about something anymore. And this is really good, because when you kind of like lose this attachment to things, this can go back to your morality. You kind of like become a much lighter person. There you go. The world. It's a new stage, guys. You are becoming a new edition of Taurus. And whether you want it or not, the thunderbolt is here. You see? It looks like that at some point you're going to feel cornered. You're going to feel a Seven of Wands reversed is like outnumbered in certain ways. Wow, again, Knave of Wands and arguing. There's lots of passion going on here. It looks like you will really fight your way. Come on, guys, I know you're stubborn, but this kind of keeps coming back to, maybe this is why the thunderbolt came out. If Tauruses will be stubborn, this is what happens. All right. So, Taurus for August, Taurus for August 2017. All right, this one has been shuffled. So what do we have on the bottom? Heart-to-heart conversations. Honestly discuss your feelings with each other. Yeah, I think this is a good point, but have it with the others. Remember morality, remember guidance. Open. We have 2 ears, only 1 mouth, so we have to listen twice as much as talk. But this is also see, then you have retreat here as well, which is your lake. This is also listening to your own heart, listening to all these little voices that basically have been given to you through all these ancestors and this guidance. And look here, the healing is taking place. It's again talking about the stillness and retreat over here with the hermit showing up. So it looks like to me, Tauruses, you have accumulated lots of pain, because Ten of Swords is not a nice sight. But also, now when you look back, you're going to maybe come to the understanding that this could have been prevented, that you have seen all the signposts along the way. You have chosen not to look at it. And this is great. Sometimes you really hope for the best. But this is like now asking you to see how much of it was you. How much of it basically was your rigid way of looking at things. Did you crushed and burned because of some way that you insisted on it? Was that a deal breaker, or was that like, we can negotiate that? Because that's the difference between the fixed signs and the rest of them, because I'm a fixed sign myself. This no deal breaker category has to be very small, and for some of us it's really big. So kind of like go and open that toolbox and see what is in it. All right, so let's go. You have, and there you go, healing family issues. Pay attention to the red flags. Stay optimistic about your love life. Romantic feelings. Chemistry. Children. Flirt. Getting to know each other. Express your love. And keep an open mind. Just do both of them here. So, Three of Cups, Knight of Pentacles, the Devil. Interesting. Eight of Swords reversed. Five of Wands again. Here we go. Page of Wands again. The Strength reversed. Six of Pentacles reversed. Chariot reversed. and Knave of Pentacles. Okay, so let's see, where do we go here? So right, so let's start with the past that kind of like we brought to this point. It says romantic feelings. Your feelings are real and worth exploring. And there is like Eight of Swords. Eight of Swords is reversed, so reverse kind of position is better than upright, because in the upper situation we are literally trapped. We not only are we blindfolded, we are stuck in the tree crown. We don't know really how to get out of the situation. So what do we feel? It's fear. But now the tree is upside down. All we really need to do is strategize, and we do feel a firm, basically, ground underneath that. So we do have that feeling that we should be getting out. So it's sort of like seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. And yeah, we are persisting in spite of everything. It is again talking about strategy. It's again talking about possibly learning things the hard way, but kind of like being stubborn and willing to kind of continue. And there is like first of the karma cards, the wheel. The luck has turned, the tides have turned in your favor. This is still asking for you to actually maintain some kind of balance, but somehow things start to kind of like turn around for you. Even though there is somebody, even though this says stay optimistic about your love life, positive thinking and fate will bring you romance. There is like still here the devil. The devil is basically the card of codependency. And this is the card when you really think you love somebody, where the truth is you cannot live without them. They are two very different things. Love, just ask yourself about your love for parents, or the love for your child, or the love for your pet. You do not go on vacation and obsess and you're sad because your pet is not with you, or because your parent is not with you. You simply have this gentle kind of feeling of their presence. And contentment is the key word, where when this emotion gets really wrong, which has been done through movies and everything, this is what we have to feel, kind of like we cannot live without them. Guys, this is not love. This is codependency. This is that devil force where you feel chained. And whenever you feel like something like that, it's always a good time to step out. Not step out of relationship in terms of cheating, but like kind of like go through that stillness. Go and see for guidance. Go and see if you're maybe, well, since you have the morality card, I'm wondering if you're being tested here. If because it's asking you to shed it yourself, are you going to be presented with circumstances that are really a little bit outside of the scope of what you consider morality, and hence you're going to be able to see and understand how anybody can find themselves in that situation. Because this is basically saying that maybe you have acted out of character, or somebody else, or that there is like a third person hovering, or that somebody really stepped out of their relationship. And it is kind of like getting a host of different issues. Yeah, there was something romantic, which maybe was really romantic at some point, was moving in a really nice way. It could be also somebody from the past that is lingering over here, that you maybe want to revisit this past. But guys, there was somebody in the past that kind of like burned you. You have to ask yourself, why are you returning back? Is this really better for you to return back? Are you desperate to return back? Or are you feeling that way, that you're kind of chained to this person? And please spare me of twin flames. I cannot stand that. Nobody is really meant for us in a sense that everything is going to work out fine. It won't. So if you're going to this person, beware. You guys going to have a thunder. This person, I'm telling you right off the bat, is not for you. And if you do go, you're going to find this out again. However, there is a second option here for those of you who kind of go to this retreat, who kind of like, when this person comes, kind of like exercise this. You know what, let's talk about that, because situation is difficult. So instead of like me kind of like passing a judgment and have that sense of morality, let's see where to go with this, right? So you have healing family issues. Your love life benefits as you forgive your parents. So where did you get all your training from? Of course, like most of us go through life really reiterating everything that our parents told us, like verbatim. Like, this is the reality, this is like what we have to do. When we mature, sometimes, because maturity is not a concept that exists normally anymore, but when we mature, sometimes we rebel, and sometimes this goes through addictions, and this can also talk about addictions and drugs and alcohol, overly sexual kind of activity, etc. But here, sometimes we kind of do stuff and attract people who basically play out certain things that we actually didn't get when we were younger. Maybe it was something that we really wanted. In your case, it's calling for trying to lift up. Three of Cups talks about joy, like that anything that is like creating that shadow inside of you has to kind of have the light. Remember, we were talking about this guidance and the darkness and the light. That's where we are getting. It's like no wonder that both cards are 3, right? Even though they are not the same flavor. So something is a burden, and maybe your sense of responsibility was to take too much on, and it is time for realization. This is breaking your back. It is really nice to be reliable. It is really nice to do things that people expect from you. But what about you, Taurus? Don't you have to be pampered? Don't you have to be healed? Yeah, you have to revisit your goals. Remember, you had the 3 of Wands. Now it's 2 of Wands, also reversed. So this is like a choice between new and old, and looking for a new perspective. And where do you go? And here, because you cannot see, you are missing that perspective. And this perspective is going to come to you with that lightness. Again, I think this is reminding you, go deep and face what it is that bothers you. Talk about it. If you cannot talk about it, or you don't want to talk about it, go to this retreat. And this is literally facing your own fears, facing your own sorrow, and just release it. And then all of a sudden you get this like kind of sense of like bubbly feeling of feeling released. You become a butterfly. And you see, pay attention to the red flags. The signs are cautioning you. If somebody's coming back to your life, this is great. We all want to kind of like have open hands. This is just natural, right? But also it's good to know who is our friend and who is a Trojan horse. So move slowly. Knight of Pentacles is always a test. Somebody will be coming to you this month who will test you. Wow, you have 2 knights. First of all, they're going to come kind of really shyly, in a shy way, and it's sort of like with the speed that is yours, because Pentacles are, after all, the earth sign representation. So they will knock on the door. You will feel, oh, there's nothing wrong happening there. Sure, come in. And then it's going to be a strike. Knight of Swords moves very fast. It goes for the kill. There you go. That's going to be the closure. You guys have to figure out that, you know, you have been going through this battle, and this kind of has to stop. You have to put yourself first, because 7 of Swords coming in this configuration here tells me that you're putting other people ahead of you and trying to kind of like jump when they say jump. And I think you're going to put an end to it this time around. You see, there is a chemistry with someone, or going to meet somebody with whom you have chemistry, and it's going to be really a strong magnetic attraction. But at the same time, it's going to be kind of lots of miscommunication, maybe kind of lacking focus, because what is the focus here? Can you see the focus? Here, look at this. This is the target, and everybody is losing sight of this target. It's, guys, focus what has to be done. Sometimes it's hard to make a choice when you're getting 2 of Swords. You're actually really not sure where you're going, right? Walking a tightrope is never easy, especially not if you're blindfolded. Especially if you're really not sure about any of the solutions. It is sort of like forced decision making and blindly trusting, and this is what is happening. So you will probably walk away from something that maybe cannot grow, that it's maybe not a time to grow. So this whole chemistry, again, you're going to go back to this red flags. If something starts to evolve really, really rapidly, this is also usually a sign of the devil. Because how much would you trust if your house is built in a day? Or would you prefer that this house has basically every element that has been studied and placed in order? So this is what basically is going to happen to you this month. It's going to be lots of fast like energy, which is going to ask you to kind of like integrate various aspects. So people will be good, people will be bad. You'll be good, you'll be bad. So it's asking for you to kind of refine yourself. And now we have children. Your love life is being affected by children. So here is like this passionless approach. This can be your children. It could be somebody else's children. This could be a pet project. It could be your pet. But mostly that refers to you, to the child inside of you that you really need to heal, because you had that right here in the center of your August reading. So what is it that you guys had passion for? What is it that you have been put into? Oh, no, you're not going to be a fireman. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to be a lawyer. And you hate it, right? You really maybe didn't want to be a fireman, but you wanted something that created that kind of excitement. So ask yourself, hey, what the heck that was? It was something that broke your heart, that maybe took you off your path. Maybe it was something that you wanted, that you have been rejected, and you took the left turn. Look, this is the second karma card, and it's like right mirroring over here. The Judgment talks about things from the past coming to the surface to be dealt with. And this is telling me that you guys are going to make the right decision this time around. So again, it is like, it is what they say, or is it what I feel I should do? I know the entire society, new Taurus being so reliable, oh, you're foolish doing that. You really, really are asked, because of probably that reason, to integrate the polarities in you, to listen to that voice of guidance, to go deep in stillness. Maybe this is why the Ancestral card came here, that you still want to honor the opinion of the other people who are maybe kind of like giving you that advice, because advice is always a sort of emotion, right, where people really do give you advice thinking that this is really the best of wisdom they can give you, just like I'm giving it to you. But you literally have to listen to your own advice, because you are the one who is living within your skin and who basically had that very unique life. So look deep, dig deep, and find the difference between shoulds and wants. So this is the feelings that you're going to have this month. Flirt, extend your light-hearted energy to others, but then you have the strength reversed. So either you're not charging because you're still, or something is becoming way too strong and way too powerful, or maybe you're flirting with somebody who doesn't want to commit. Yay! Lucky you guys! Well, here's the kitty jumping. So this is reversed, because in the other deck I'm always looking the upright. So you have two majors. What is the third one? Whoa. Whoa. So your change is coming through your approach to relationships, to what you felt was right, what you felt had to be done. And now you have maybe studied the other people. Something has happened, guys. The Judgment is kind of taking things from the past. You had some kind of resentment coming up to the surface, and this anger, it's maybe going to come out with coming on overly strong, almost like you want to pulverize someone, or you'll be pulverized. When the Tower is reversed, it's something that you may already know. You're kind of going through this change already. This is the thunderbolt. You guys, the transformation is good, right? So remember what I said, go halfway. When you see this, instead of like stepping on a brake, you know, like when you're just trying to slide on the ice and the instinct is like, let's step on the brake, this is the last thing you should be doing. In fact, you have to go gentle, you have to go slowly, just maybe halfway, and this is how you make your car stop. And that's the elegant solution, and also the only safe solution. Everything else is a crash and burn. And yeah, it's going to be many signs going through this. This month is ridiculous. We are going to become much better people. This is your crossroad, and it is in Pentacles. You're going back to who you're supposed to be, what you're really supposed to be doing. This is like shaking down your portfolio. Okay, you have built certain things to a certain level. It's a review, but check his review. The kitty is not looking down. The kitty is looking up. It is like, what can I do to build more? But now I want this to be organic. I want this to be well done, not with the shoulds, not with all these things. So you're integrating everything that you had so far. So your environment, it says getting to know each other, and as you reveal your innermost selves to each other, your bond deepens. Now this is kind of really interesting, because the Six of Pentacles reversed is going to make you observe about this give and take, and this is where your morality is going to kick in, because you guys are processing it through hard work and how people are basically handling their lives. So that's where you kind of like have a little bit of rigidity, but you have to figure out here on this test, okay, give and take maybe is not there, but you have to ask yourself why. Am I too rigid, so I am kind of like closing myself too much, or are they too rigid? Or how can we make this flow better? There you go. This card now like turned. So by applying this principle and going slower, kind of like really trying to understand. So let's say people really harm you, and of course initially you just like want to shoot them, right? But instead of just, you know, when you calm down a few days later, give yourself 48 or 72 hours and say, okay, just can you tell me what was your perspective at this? That way you actually learn how they think and why did they arrive to that. Because we kind of like have vanishing of adults, and people just like going to their egos, and it's like huge ego, me. So by approaching that, you see, by approaching that ego from different angles, you're actually learning about them. If nothing else, for the lack of a better word, you can control them. And you can kind of figure out, okay, so this is the gear that you're in. But hopefully this person is going to get it, that with those questions you're actually telling them, this kind of didn't work for me. See, Queen of Wands, it's going to be somebody spoiled, and somebody who might be very manipulative, somebody who is a skin deep, and keep in mind that you guys also like luxury, and sometimes there's this attraction to nice shiny objects. So take it slow, try to figure out where you're going. And this is also fast moving energy, not as fast as basically somebody's going to try to storm into your life, but getting to know each other is a warning that all these things are for you to take it slow, because you may crash and burn if you take it too fast. Because remember, the ending here is like you are rebuilding by not completely having a distraction. The certain things have to go, so certain things will be shaken down, but the other things will continue to grow as a result of clipping those ends, right? So yeah, kill the root, don't kill the leaves, right? So check this out. These are your hopes and fears, and express your love. You do want to express it. You do want to kind of fly. It looks like somebody's going to come to your life, or somebody from the past is returning to life. Both options are here on the table. You'll want to actually act on it, but again, it's going to be the repeat of the same thing. You're going to act not with the highest purpose, and they are going to act in a very kind of selfish way. So the truth is, getting to know each other, are they really that way? Do they really maybe are just like a person who just wants everything to be done for them? It is all about them. Or is it that for some reason they haven't learned better because they have their own sense of morality, their own sense of how the life should be? Or for some reason we are sending off the vibes that they're not giving us everything they can give us. So we are basically stopping ourselves from getting the best old wine, and I'm just getting some kind of grape juice instead. So it is like your self-discovery. See that being stuck and thinking in terms of black and white, which is your morality, right? It's going to come to this revival. There is a death. That is like something has to stop, guys. It's the end. That's your thunderbolt. That is like your devil. This is your tower over here. You're being called to integrate and to guide yourself. I know your fear here is like poverty. Your fear is like being left out. Your fear, you see, that's again morality card, because check this out. This is the card. First of all, we have a cross here, which is not for every one of you that actually obeys the religion of a cross, but it's talking about almost like the black cat with a whole bunch of like white roses, and basically saying, yes, I'm your friend because you can resurrect to something better. But here it's again talking about morality, because this is basically a church, right, with two passengers sliding by, really injured. Isn't that the purpose of a church? To really shelter the wounded. So what happened here that these people are not finding a shelter? Or is it really maybe what you need to kind of like not to react from the inside, but kind of react from the outside? However, you guys are coming on top in all of that. Like you had these tests, and kind of like you're going deep in your mind most of the time, kind of checking the edges of your strength. But you're coming out really well. You are actually opening up. You are accomplishing your lesson. See, there is this open mind, which means is a release of that rigidity. It says your soulmate may differ from your usual type and expectations. And then you have Knave of Pentacles. So, slow. What is this? Like, I mean, slowly you're winning the race. Slow and steady wins the race. It still could be like some kind of leftovers of depression and burnout, but that's kind of normal. You guys are doing a really, really hard work over here. It's a toughie. So, let me put the Lenormand cards on the table for the second part. 2 out of 4. And it's going to give you more like a general perspective on what is happening right now in your life. There are like only 2 significators, the lady and the gentleman. Either of them can be you. And so let's see really what is really going to happen, maybe life-wise. I'm not going to be putting the cards in front of you, so you don't have to waste 2-3 minutes of this. So I'm going to just click back. Alright guys, and I'm really sorry about this reading being this long, and I really do appreciate if you're still here with me. I mean, you know that my monthlies are really big, so I'm still trying to reconfigure how to do the balance between the YouTube free readings that I want to do and my personal life, and with, you know, the readings I do and my life coaching. So it's a balance. And my dad actually have been hospitalized with a stroke. I'm doing lots of Reiki on him, so he's doing actually very well. He's already talking to a point that actually almost they want to release him like 10 days later, which is just really amazing. So again, knock it 3 times. Let's kind of like hope this is all going to be well. But he is in a different city. He lives like I'm in Niagara Falls, so it is only a short trip from Toronto. I mean, I drive like a lunatic. I drive 160, but just don't report me. And you know, I usually am there in an hour or hour and 15 minutes, but you know, with the summer and all this works, I mean, I even find myself 4 hours bumper to bumper, and I really kind of like try to struggle with all of this, and this is why all these readings are a little bit late. So back to this about you. I'm just giving you a little bit of, if you order a reading, please be a little bit more patient. It's not going to take 2-3 weeks or 3 months like the other readers. I still believe in kind of like getting back to you as soon as possible, but at the same time, I'm not doing these readings as, let's say, a job. I just don't kind of get it out, so you give me the money, I do it. I kind of like to be very diligent, which means I need to have my energy to do it. Back to Lenormand. In Lenormand, we guys, as I said, we have two significators, gentleman and the lady. The rest of the stuff can kind of be significators, but not really in tarot. And this is kind of really situational spread. So I'm going to give you here the storyline, and this is kind of like more life, where when we move to Gypsy, and I don't know, can you see it here? Let me come in closer. When we move to Gypsy, this is going to talk more about emotions. So interestingly here, this is starting with the cross card. There is your karma. There is like your generations, ancestors. Remember the death card also with the cross? But you have this kite and whip and the mountain. But that was something in the past. You have been dealing with this, right? We had this judgment card there as well. But something, you see the child card is here as well. Children also can mean new beginning and something that has been brewing for quite a while, but something that is right now coming to the surface. It looks like maybe it wasn't the right time, like you had in one card over there. This can apply to our relationships. This can apply to our job, because for you it looks like it's kind of integrated with some kind of income. The bear talks about finances, and looks like there are things, or there were things that have been cut off or addressed. I don't know, did some of you lose the job and then started something new and starting something entrepreneurial? And if that's what happened to you, that's going to be a great success. But it's still going to have to be redefined once more, because you have the crossroads. But it's going to be a huge, enormous success, because you have the sun and you have the clover. And it looks like it still needs some kind of positioning, because there is like still some kind of communication or maybe legalese that have to be done there. Now, again, I see the lilies here, which could be somebody from the past coming back with life, with that love. And this might be also come in and come out, just like what I saw in tarot. And come out not because they leave you. This time they'll come out because you are actually looking for much a healthier solution here. Because you have the clouds, but kind of like your view is clearing. You see you had the clouds in morality card here. No, but you are getting this vision. And it's like this person is still kind of in these clouds, because look at these clouds are continuing over here. And the lily is that person. And this can actually be some time until the winter. The other storyline is basically this one. I mean, even though it says the lady, this can be you or this can be him. And even though it says gentleman, it could be you or him, or you're basically person of interest. So here again, there is somebody who, if this is you, it's some new attitude, that healthy attitude, that kind of like new growth that is spurring. It could be a new visitor. It could be visiting something which is also connected with health. If you are doing a restaurant job, or if you're doing some kind of like health industry, that's going to be really well positioned for a new start, for maybe finding a new product. However, over here for this significator, I have the house, the heart, and the mice, and the garden. So this is again basically very similar to this ancestor. So where is my heart? You Taurus people hate to live in apartments. It is kind of like sign that really wants to own a property. They want to have their own houses. They, like, if they don't have it, they literally work really hard to get there. And it looks like you might be moving, you might be buying a new house, you might be kind of like putting your anchor down, finally realized, okay, I have to do something on my home. It could actually talk about renovations. But there'll be certain things that will be put to rest, right? Because the stars is physical communication next to coffin. Something has to die. So some kind of communication with maybe even a society is just going to stop, right? You will kind of figure out maybe it is some kind of gossip that has been happening, and maybe as your sense of this transformation, you're going to decide, look, you know what, actually that was like really negative for me. It is taking me down. That's why you guys don't hear me swear, because one, it is rude. That is my sense of morality. But mostly is I know, because I'm such a basically empath, that whenever I do something negative, I start kind of like magnetizing myself in a bad way, and I start to spiral down. And it is not fair. Well, I can do whatever I want with me, right? Just like you can do whatever you want with you, but I cannot do that to you, because I want to have that energy, just like with my little kind of mini speech, that is positive, that you actually get healing even from listening to my voice. So whenever, you know, somebody swears, even though they can kind of sound cute at the moment, it is a negative emotion that you are opening yourself up to it. So I don't want to give it to you, and I think you guys are getting to that point that you're going to say, I'm not going to do that either. I'm going to do that as showing the power toward myself, not because somebody else wants me to do or not want me to do. And guess what? People don't notice, and they all of a sudden start behaving better toward you. So it is almost like giving a gift to yourself, a gift of positivity. So in this basically spread, you guys, both significators are doing well. In one situation, there is like something new that maybe stem from something old, and it is a new lift up, a new start. In terms of relationship, you know, there is somebody possibly from the past, but there is also somebody new. I see the birds and the key, and these are the lovebirds, right? Maybe it was somebody from the past as well that you knew, because it looks like that some of you met somebody who was either long distance, or you met on a trip or some kind, right? For the others, you will be doing some traveling or visiting, or, you know, kind of like looking down in your health, kind of figuring out what commitments you want to take and what commitments you don't want to take, because there is this crossroad here. And it's sort of really clear crossroad. You're asking yourself what can be a dead end and what can kind of spur the growth, because you see the tree over here on one side of this crossroad, on the other side is the coffin. So it is going to be like, again, that dilemma, integration of the opposites. So the next, guys, I'm going to do Gypsy spread. Well, this was 32 cards. The Gypsy spread is like 52 cards, and it gives us all kinds of emotions: enemies, friends, and neighbors, jealousy, and it also gives us ability to see the singles and couples and everything that can happen. So I'll be back in a second. Alright guys, so this is Gypsy spread. I'm just going to quickly point out to you where are the significators that I look, which significators I actually really look for this general reading. I'm also doing this upright, so it basically can be modified as well. So here we have the sweetheart. Let me see, twirl it a little bit. This card here is a sweetheart that can represent you single ladies, or it actually generally represents everybody who is a seeker, who is listening over here. She doesn't just disregard the gender. Then you have a lover, which is like a male equivalent, but again, either of them can be your story as well. Then we have the Lord, and Lord is generally talking about a professional or somebody who possibly is unavailable, and it's unavailable because they belong to a different person, or they're simply engaged with their work. And wife could be, of course, a married woman. It could be just a single woman with children, and also can be one of the significators. The other things that I also look is the enemy and foe, and look at them there together. And this could be arrivals. It could be people who are in our way, or it could be even us. We are our own worst enemy. And also there is a young woman. It could be for the younger viewers, but it also can represent a daughter or basically child of a couple. So interestingly, actually, storyline is really interesting because looks like you'll go deep inside. Again, you have the scholar and servant as the last two cards, which are called no cards because they're not a part of the spread, but these are like bottom of the deck. So oops, pardon me, what's serving you, Taurus? What you're going to study, what works, what doesn't work. So it's again kind of like glowing with kind of like the advice and everything. And here, you know, you're redefining something. You see, again, you have this misfortune, which is kind of equivalent of that Tower card, and there's something is redefined, something you felt, whatever it was false, you're burying it. You're like getting this like newfound wiseness, and it's actually going to serve you very, very well. So here I also see that you have to be very careful. There is this thief. It's not a good card. And also here is like this pleasure seekers, right? So you have been sad over somebody who may have been unavailable. Maybe somebody that person even forgot to tell you that they actually are with somebody in a kind of serious way. And maybe that somebody also has a child. So it was this whole thing about what are you going to do? Are you going to be with me or not? There is this conversation that is going to take place, which you had over there as well, right? Going to be exchange of the messages. And this is what I saw over there. Someone's going to come really quickly, right? Thief comes really quickly. They don't really have months to prepare something. It has to be in and out. Somebody has to take as much as they can really quickly. So be careful, because somebody might just do exactly the same thing that did it to you in the past. Now, for this significator over here is somebody who also could be involved with somebody who for some reason has some issues or stipulations about fully kind of like jumping into this relationship, because they either have children, which you said, or which you've seen over there, or on the other hand, you're kind of like wondering, maybe you're not with this person, maybe that was somebody from the past that you had. But in any case, in this case, look, this was the death card you had. Something is going to be placed to rest, and it's going to be a reunion with this person. You actually reunion in a good way, because it's going to kind of possibly be even moving in for the some of you. But be very careful, because again, you know, this would be moving really, really fast, because this is again warning over here. Like you see, it's even possible a child with this person, but move it slower. That's all I say, because there are still issues that you're going to find about this person, and you're not going to like it, because you see the foe and the enemy are sort of like enveloping the soldier in prison, and neither of them is a good thing. Soldier is very defensive. Prison is like something that where you're stuck, right? So it is again asking you to lift off. It is like pretty much the same message, guys, that we have, right? You need to do that. You need to kind of like seek this guidance. You need to know where you're going. And look, you have both butterfly and the peacock here twice, and this is what's going to bring you fortune. You have to be faithful to your own heart. It is like really clear. Now we have this Lord here that is next to young woman, and generally I interpret young woman as their daughter, but here it's room next to it and cheerfulness. It looks like that somebody that step out of the relationship and created this jealousy and secrets, and you know, it was a question, if you are my friend or love, if that's going to die. It just created a whole shakedown, and this is maybe what this thunderbolt is. It maybe already happened. It maybe kind of like was this violation in a big way. And cheating, yes, I think honestly cheating is a deal breaker. It really is. It should be. If it isn't for you guys, make it a deal breaker. I'm really tired of people working on their marriages. When somebody basically is doing this to the person, one person who adores them, one person who basically did their life, maybe even had children with them, and they just go and step out and you harm them that way. I mean, if you want to do that, you're always free to go, but just tell me before you do it. You cannot fall in bed with someone. So I don't know, my rule, and okay, I am an air sign. To me, I have certain things that are no-go, and one of them is cheating. Even a whiff of it, you're off the list. Your phone number is deleted and you just don't exist anymore, and good luck to you. So you're going to do something similar, maybe not as rigid as I am, but look, you're going to kind of look at these two ends, and you're actually going to be better about that. You're going to figure out why they did it, right? Kind of explain to me why you did it, and you're going to give them more chance, but at the same time you're going to be healing yourself and trying to kind of figure out how do you kind of like go deep inside of yourself, because certainly you are feeling it. Look, some of you were like so desperate. It kind of shook every part of your life, including the financial part. But some of you did manage and will manage to rebound. Keep in mind, this rebounds might be another repeat of the same thing. It is just amazing. The person is freezing. You let them into your home and you give them the warmth, and next thing you know, they're just behaving like a jerk instead of realizing the goodness of somebody's heart. So be very careful when you do that. Be very, very careful, because the merchant is here and something is not going to be negotiated properly for you guys. Because I see here they're like still, and that's what we saw in your tarot. Like you kind of like did put certain things to rest, and this is good, but it has to be maintained. It has to be reinforced. You see, there is this constancy. It has to be reinforced, and you will try to reinforce it. It's going to be some kind of advantage, because it's about surprise and fortune over here, which is like really awesome. So for a while, for 2-3 months, it's going to look really cool, and then it's going to go back to a shock, to a point that like there is a pleasure seekers here as well. Somebody can just go back to their merry ways. In my country we say the wolf is changing its hair but never its spirit. So that's that Red Riding Hood and a grandma story, right? So grandma, you have big teeth. Well, yeah, because I will bite you. So I guess here that's why you have a doctor and an old woman. I think some of you that went through counseling, and those of you who went this path and focus on the new sets of rules, because child is something that is new, it's fresh, but it's also based on something that have existed. Kind of like maybe you have to shed all this kind of secrets and kind of shed the enemies, or if you have a rival, there has to be conversation about it. For those of you who maybe take this path of either healing, either regular counseling or energy work, those of you actually do have a chance. But nonetheless, all of you are going to have this thunderbolt and kind of like new definition of your core beliefs. Kind of like really, you're almost like becoming a completely new person. So I have one more card, which I'm trying to figure out where I left, that I kind of like drew in the very beginning, and I'm leaving this card for the last. Oh my gosh, it must be Mercury retrograde coming, because I'm seeing the screen freezing. Let me see what happens here. Yeah, it's working. Is it working? It's working. It happened the last time, it's happening again. Last time even my camera actually broke down, and this is a new one. So this is the card to seal the reading, and I kind of like really laughed when I kind of like had it before, and it says Dragon's Lair, right? Lair. And it says you're always protected and divinely directed. However, you got this card reversed, and this is what it says. Red flags shouldn't be ignored. Remember, you had red flags in tarot. Here you have red flags. These are your enemies. Red flags, red flags. Don't be seduced into learning a lesson that will hurt your heart. Again, guys, you know, integration, morality, guidance. Temptation and intrigue abound. Be careful, because you can't win this particular challenge. Heed this gentle warning about wanting and longing, and the fantasy of belonging to someone, something, or an identity that has no true substance or longevity. Ignore this alarm and you'll wander in circles near the edge of a dragon's lair. Choose another path, for your treasures lie elsewhere. And it like really kind of summarize everything that we had so far. So Tauruses, interesting month, but join the crowd. We all have really interesting month. It is just amazing that maybe in a month time we all are going to become just like a gorgeous society. Let's have our fingers crossed. So this is it for this month. I really hope you guys have a wonderful month. For personal reading, contact me on my website. And until the next time, I love you. All the best.